my name is Oscar and I'm a scientist. Today we're going to talk about independent recommendation letters. We're going to see what they are, why you should have them in your EB2 NIW petition, and we're going to solve some of the frequently asked questions that I get in this channel. Let's jump into it. So, recommendation letters are an important way to substantiate your qualifications for EB2 NIW green card petitions. But there are two types of recommenders, and one of them is more important than the other. Of course, today we're going to focus on the important one, and I do have a previous video that I leave a link here where you can know everything about recommendation letters in general. But today we're going to focus on one of these two. The first one I have here on the screen, objective recommenders, or I also call them independent recommenders or independent advisory opinions or independent expert opinions. There are many ways to call them, but what it means is that these people that are writing a letter for you are experts who do not know you personally, but through your work. When I say they don't know you personally, it doesn't mean that you have never seen them or you have never talked with them. They have never worked with you closely. They are not your bosses, they are not your subordinates, they have not been colleagues, they have not been in your same organization. So professionally, you don't know each other, pretty much. The most important type of recommender is an independent recommender for this process. And I'm going to make a quick pause here to tell you that I know, and I get this all the time from my clients, I know that for everything else in your life, including searching for a new job, you typically look for the opposite. You look for a recommendation from your boss, someone that knows you very well in your organization, that can speak to your qualifications, to your achievements. Here, for USCIS, the most important recommender is the opposite. It's someone that you have not worked closely with. And later I'm going to explain why this is. So, on the opposite side, we have subjective recommenders here on the bottom. Those are your typical recommenders that you use for job applications, your previous boss or your current boss, someone that is senior to you, who has supervised you, who knows you very well, and can speak to what you have been doing recently. You should have some of these letters in your EB2 NIW petition. They don't hurt, they speak well about you, but they are not the most important ones. That's why today I'm going to be focusing exclusively on objective recommenders or independent recommenders. So let's continue. Why am I doing this video? Because lately I have received a lot of emails from viewers that are asking for help to answer RFEs or requests for evidence from USCIS. And one thing that they have in common is, well, most of them are RFEs on the 3 prongs of the matter of Dhanasar, but they all talk about independent letters. And here I have 2 examples. These are real RFE letters from USCIS, very recent, from the last 2 or 3 months. So number 1 says, the petitioner also provided reference letters from work associates and a former professor. And I highlighted this because this is clearly the definition of a subjective recommendation letter. The affiants attest to the petitioner's duties while employed in the positions and speak of his knowledge and application of, and here, well, I just redacted the field, so we don't know who this person is. However, the record contains no independent, objective, documentary evidence to establish that the petitioner has made any original contributions to the field, blah, blah, blah. So what we're seeing here is that USCIS is asking specifically to get independent letters, to get letters from people who do not work with us closely. Right? Because this person had those letters already, but USCIS is saying, well, you're not giving us a reference letter from someone that doesn't have that bias of working with you, that doesn't have that that relationship with you. In example 2, we see something similar. USCIS notes that the 2 recommendation letters are from individuals who are professionally acquainted to the beneficiary. Alright, so here the same type of writing. They are referring to subjective recommendation letters. So this person submitted only 2 letters and both of them are subjective. While it is true that the authors of these letters work in the same field, the record at present does not persuasively establish that the beneficiary has had a substantial impact in the field of endeavor. It would be generally expected that someone who has such a substantial impact on the field that the granting of a national interest waiver would be warranted would be known outside the circle of his personal acquaintances. So again, they're asking, where are your independent recommendation letters? You have given us 2 letters from someone that has worked with you closely. Where are the independent ones? Where are those expert opinion letters that are objective? Okay, so that's why I'm making this video today, to help you tackle this problem from the beginning. If you already have these independent letters in your original application, they will not have these questions for you. So maybe you will save on this RFE. Maybe you will not get this RFE, or maybe you get an RFE with less questions, right? And that's always important, because less questions, it will be easier to counter that RFE, to answer that RFE properly. But our objective is always to minimize the chance for RFEs. That's why we want to do things well from the very beginning. So just a reminder for everyone, these are the EB2 NIW requirements. We have the general EB2 requirement, advanced degree or exceptional ability. I have a video for exceptional ability if you must use that route. But generally, most people will use their master's or PhD or a bachelor and 5 years of progressive experience. So with that or exceptional ability, you fulfill the general EB2 requirement. That, I would say, is the easy part. Then the matter of Dhanasar comes in, because we're asking the government to waive the requirement for a job offer or a labor certification. We need to also fulfill these 3 prongs of the matter of Dhanasar. 1, we have to have an endeavor with substantial merit and national importance. 2, we have to be well positioned to advance that endeavor. And 3, on balance, it is beneficial for the US to waive that job offer requirement. So where do these recommendation letters help us here? Well, they can help us in a lot of places, but the independent recommendation letters, they will be very strong as a type of evidence to substantiate that we are well positioned to advance the endeavor, this second prong of the matter of Dhanasar. Because like that RFE said in the previous slide, if someone that don't know us, if someone that doesn't know us, and is a reputable member of our field, can speak well about us without having that personal professional connection with us, that says to USCIS that we are also a reputable member of our profession. That's why USCIS prefers the independent recommenders to the subjective recommenders. That's why they don't prefer our boss speaking about us, because there's that long personal professional relationship. But if someone that is independent speaks well about us and writes a very convincing letter about us, that shows them, okay, this person is well positioned. That endeavor that he is proposing, he has a high chance of succeeding in that endeavor that he is writing about. But of course, the letters can also help establishing the number of years of experience if we need that. If we're going for exceptional ability, of course, we have to prove that we're exceptional, and those independent recommenders can also help a lot establishing our exceptionality. And of course, they can also speak about our endeavor, how important it is for the US, and even in the second prong, it can help detailing our achievements, our contributions to the field, and they can evaluate our plan for the US. A lot of people add a plan. It can be a professional plan or a business plan, and I have a video about that. But they can actually evaluate that as an independent expert and provide USCIS their conclusions on if our plans are feasible or not, how our plans will benefit the country, and that will help the USCIS come to a positive conclusion, right? So on balance, this prong is also important, and these independent letters can also help us establish that our endeavor is sufficiently urgent, so that's a reason for waiving the job offer requirement, or that a labor certification is impractical. Maybe we are entrepreneurs, and those letters can help us establish that as well. So as you can see, there are multiple ways that these recommendation letters can be important. So let's see some example of those independent recommenders. Who can give us that kind of letter? Well, first of all, it could be leaders in other companies in your field. So we don't want someone in our company because that would make it subjective. We want to look for people in other companies, competitors, collaborators, someone that is not linked to us organization-wise. We can also look for professors in our field who didn't work with us directly. So we're going to look for professors that are not in our former university or in our current university. We're going to look for authors that cited our work. If we are scientists, for example, we have published papers, we're going to look in the list of citations that we have. We're going to see who among those is reputable, and we can email them, communicate with them, and ask them for a recommendation. They can be professionals that you met in conferences or networking events. Actually, these are ones that I recommend because it's typically easier to get their yes. And it can be connections of a boss, connections of an advisor. Typically those people that are senior to us, they have more connections, and we can leverage that to our advantage. One key thing, the more reputable the recommender is, the stronger your application will be. USCIS is looking at who is giving you that independent recommendation. Not only that they are independent, but they are very reputable, they are very well known in the field, they have done a lot for the field, they have a lot of contributions, and that's going to be the value they put on your profile as well. If that person that is so important is recommending you, it means that you must be also important. So how do we use these independent recommendations? Well, as I said earlier, especially for prong number 2, showing that we are well positioned in the field. We should use those letters to highlight specific details of our career, how we achieved what we achieved. Give details always. It's not about generalities. It's not about, oh, Oscar is a great scientist. He is very hardworking, he worked many hours, and he did a lot of things in his career. No, you have to say what he did, how that impacted the field, how that impacted the country, to provide the USCIS really concrete evidence of what you have done. You can use this letter to demonstrate that you are exceptional. Since USCIS, since these recommenders don't know you personally and only through your work, USCIS considers this opinion really important, because if they speak well about you without knowing you, that means that you must be really, really good in your profession. So how do we find these independent recommenders? How do we approach them? Well, I have 2 cases. The first case is looking for someone that is completely unrelated to us, completely unknown. We don't know this person. We know that maybe this is a very reputable person, a very prestigious professional, but we have never met them. We don't have any connection in common. So what we do is we find information from their organization's website. We go to LinkedIn and find them there. We go to papers that they have published and look for their contact information there. And then we just write them. We just go for it and write an email. This is a low success rate event because we don't know this person at all. They don't have any real references about us, unless we are absolutely very, very, very well known, but that's not typical for a young professional. So imagine that someone sends you an email, you don't know anything about green cards, you don't know anything about EB2 NIW, and someone asks you for a very, very strong recommendation letter. What would you think? You probably would ignore that person, right? That's the real world. So that may happen with these people as well. These are C-level executives, very senior people in organizations. They are very busy. If they get an email from someone they don't know, they will probably ignore it because they are just too busy for this. and they don't have to have any exposure with immigration. So obviously, they will be hesitant to provide such a strong recommendation letter. So let's go to number 2. This is my favorite: connections of connections, or people you have previously met somewhere. Because when I said independent recommenders are people that don't know you, that's not exactly true. You can know them, you just don't know them in a professional, close relationship. Okay, so you're not their subordinate, you're not their colleague. So let's take a look at 2 examples of candidates for these recommendation letters. One is someone that your advisor knows. So you have studied somewhere, you still have a good relationship with your advisor. Just reach out to them and leverage their network that they have. Typically, professors have a very vast network of colleagues. So just contact them and use your advisor as name drop your advisor's name. Typically you want to inform your advisor, of course, that you're going to do that. Maybe they even want to write them first, so they help you in that way too. And through that connection, you will get a more likely yes answer, right? Than if you don't know them at all, if they don't know your name at all. So example number 2 is that is someone that you met in a professional conference, in a professional networking event a few months or years ago. You typically establish some LinkedIn connections, or you exchange cards. If you are more old school, you have their contact. Send them a message, refresh their memory in terms of how you met them that time. Maybe you attended a lecture they gave, so talk well about their lecture when you approach them, or vice versa. Maybe you remember that they came to your talk and you have a nice exchange of ideas, so remind them about that. Make it a little bit personal when you contact them. And this has a higher success rate because there is already a connection there that you made. So these people, they are more prone to say yes, either if you have met them in one of these networking events or you know them through your advisor. They are going to be more amenable to say yes to this kind of request, okay? And particularly if you approach someone that is an immigrant like you, they likely went through this process themselves, so that also helps to say yes to this kind of requests. So let's talk a little bit about this is not frequently asked questions, but what you must have, what you should have, and what you don't need regarding independent recommendation letters. So first, let's go with the must-haves. These independent letters should have a signature. They should be signed by them in ink, or alternatively using something like DocuSign or similar. They cannot be just typed in. The name cannot be just typed in. USAS want to see signatures. They should be dated because USAS wants to see that this is a recent letter, and by recent I mean can go back for a few months or even a year at most, but I don't want to see letters older than a year. USAS will be hesitant to accept that, because if you have a very old letter, that means that maybe you were great in the past, but they want to see that you're great now. Okay, always attach the CV or resume or a bio sketch, some sort of document detailing the qualifications of the person that is giving you the letter. Because, again, in the letter, there's always a paragraph showing, summarizing the profile of that person, but we want to provide USAS with all the information possible about this person so they can see how awesome these people are. Do provide a translation if the letter is in another language that is not English. Typically we try to already have these letters in English, but sometimes we're asking someone from abroad and the letter is in Portuguese, Spanish, German, whatever it is. We need to also give them a translation. Nice to have. We always ask the recommenders that they put the letter in their official letterhead of their company, institute, university, whatever it is. That means that we have the logo of the organization on top. Typically the address goes also in that template. It's this kind of template that is used. It's nice to have, it's not mandatory. Some companies are hesitant to let their employees use official letterheads for these things, so sometimes we will get a no to this, but it's always good to ask. If we get it, that letter looks a little bit better, more professional. Things that we don't need the original letter. Well, they don't need to mail us the letter, they need to email us the scan, the electronic version of that letter after they sign it. So they print it, hopefully in an official letterhead, they sign it with ink, they scan it, they send it to us. That's what we need. So a few quick questions. If you have more questions or you think something has not been covered in this video, you can write them in the comments below, but I'm going to answer these quick questions that I get all the time about letters. Can the recommenders be from non-US countries? So yes, of course. In my case, I have a few independent letters from abroad, from Brazil, for example. You can have that. It's fine. The only thing is that if the letter is not in English, you need to translate it. How long should the letters be? Well, there's no official guideline for this. Typically what I see is letters of about 1,000 words work well. That means 2 to 3 pages long. It cannot be extremely short because these letters need to provide details on your achievements, on your contributions. Really, this is important. I say it again, you need to provide details. So obviously the letter cannot be extremely short, but also we don't want these letters to be too long, 5, 6, 7 pages. That's just too long. The officer will lose attention and it will dilute whatever we're writing there. How many letters should I have? Well, I had 6 in my case. I had 3 subjective and 3 independent letters. There's no official guideline. Once again, what I recommend to my clients, to my viewers, is that you should have somewhere between 4 and 8 total letters, of which half of them should be independent. Who writes these letters? Well, realistically, you will write the letters, okay? You know your profile the best, you know what you want to highlight in your petition, so you will write these letters very intentionally, so then you can use short pieces of these letters in your petition letter. So you will provide these recommenders with a draft, and that also helps them a lot in save time. Writing a recommendation letter is very time consuming. So if you're asking a C-level executive or a very reputable person to write the whole letter, that's a tall order. So you will write it, that way you will control what the letter says, and of course you will let them edit the letter if they want to. If you have additional questions, please write them in the comments below. And that's it for today. I do have a video about recommendation letters already that you can go back and check. I will leave the link in the description below, and that includes also subjective letters. Today I only cover independent letters. If you are interested in EB2 NIW, please go visit my website eb2niw.info. I have a few products. I have, of course, more than 30 free posts with key information, including recommendation letters and how to write them, how to structure them. But if you want to see real recommendation letters from a successful petition, you can download my I-140 petition. And now I also offer my EB2 NIW course, which includes that I-140 petition, and I will explain all these concepts, for example, recommendation letters and how to write them in a very, I would say, nice way, but I made it, so I'm a bit biased. And I will help you through the process of understanding this green card category, how to fulfill these 3 prongs of the matter of Dhanasar, how to prepare your petition, how to write recommendation letters, petition letter. Everything that you need is in this course. I think this is the best resource out there for do-it-yourself applicants. So take advantage of these materials, these resources. And of course, as usual, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your support. And please, if you like this video, like it, subscribe to my channel, share these videos, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.